Okay, so now that we've gone over that, let's get started. You're gonna want to start by printing out your templates. There's gonna be 3 pages that you want to print out. You want to print them out in scale, meaning you don't want it to shrink to fit or any other percentage other than the original scale. Otherwise, it will not fit properly. I'm gonna go ahead, cut these out, and we'll get started. And just as a note, you'll see a list of supplies towards the end of this video. So if you want to see the supplies, fast forward and then come back. There's going to be chapters at the bottom of this video that'll help you along with that. As you can see, we're moving along nicely. I'm just going to finish our back supports and our detail items. We have all our pieces cut out. Once you have cut out all your templates, next you're going to get your cardboard in order to cut out the real pieces that you'll be using to assemble this. I've gone ahead and cut 2 of the smaller inner flaps and 1 of the big ones. Now, ideally, you want to get some type of tape. This one's ideal. I guess, what is this? Scotch Magic tape or anything similar. The brand doesn't obviously matter. And you're going to want to tape these on here. Now, you're going to be outlining around it. So what I usually do is I just create little loops, like you would do in kindergarten or grammar school, and just put a few on the back. So I want to conserve as much of this as I can because I could use these pieces for my smaller pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and put it here. Basically, you just want to follow the edge. Take your time. You want to get it as close as possible. Don't worry if you write over your paper because you're not going to need that. You just want to make sure that you get your border correctly on this so you can cut it out later. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate on this one, and then we'll continue on the rest. It's easier to take this off if you're going to use your knife so you can see your edge much easier. You can also use some type of ruler or something with a nice straight edge to help you cut these off when you're using the knife. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and just slowly peel this off. I want to conserve this because I want this template. I'm going to be using it and putting it back on it. I'm just taking this off to show you how you can cut it. So if I use my straight edge here and I use my knife, I can slowly go ahead and cut. Once you have your line, if it hasn't cut all the way through, you might be able to get your knife through and use your cut as a guide. You can see there, that's cut through. There's still a little bit left on the back here. Now I have a nice piece that I can use for my other parts. So I'm going to go ahead, finish cutting this off, and we'll be right back for the rest. Okay, we have our front part. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put our template back on. You see now, we're fairly lined up. And don't worry about these edges. Next, we're going to do our top part. As you can see here, I have my top portion done. This basically goes like this. Next, I'm gonna do all these little pieces here. We have all our pieces done in cardboard. So now it's time to get to assembly. So we'll be using a hot glue gun to assemble a lot of this. In some point to put the backing, we're gonna use some Elmer's glue or something similar. Now, before I get started, you'll see this line right here and right here. I didn't do this before because it helps us cut this in an angle. But really, we want to cut this line out. So I'm gonna create a straight edge here. And you want to make sure that it goes all the way to the other side. Now, all these lines here, and I'm gonna go over them as I'm doing them, we wanna crush them basically, because we wanna create pivot points. You want to place your edge on the line like this and just crush down. See there, it crushes. So we wanna do that for all these lines. Now we're doing it in the opposite direction to make our life easier, because we're actually going to do this on the other side. So we're going to be moving our templates to the other side, because that's why I made all of this uniform. Here, we only need to crush it up to right here. This one, we're going to crush it in the middle. And you'll notice that I haven't crushed any of these, because I don't really need to do any of these. Only the ones that I'm showing you that we need to crush. Now that we have crushed all of those, you can see it looks slightly warped. We're going to take the template out of this side and put it on the other side. And there you may be able to see a little bit of the crushing. Line this up. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I'm going to go ahead, take this off. And just for demonstration, I am going to stick it back on this side because it makes it easier for you to see. Basically, this folds inward like this. And these fold back. You're basically going to get this. And don't worry about the angles for this, because that's what these pieces are for. They're going to guide your angles. These as well. Here, where we cut them, or actually crush them, we basically want curve them inward like this. And maybe by this point you're understanding what these are for. They basically come on here, it's gonna go like this, and it's gonna go like that. When we glue it on, it'll give us our shape. So this will make a lot of sense once we're done with this. I've gone ahead and done this one. Next, I want to do the top side. I'm going to go ahead again and flip this over. Now that we've done that, I know I didn't line it up 100%, and basically we want to do this. Now hopefully this is making a bit more sense. So we're going to come over to the back, And we're going to start gluing this together here. While my hot glue gun is getting warm, I'm just going to give you some tips which may or may not help you. So you can see here, we did our fold. What you can do, and I'm going to do this for this video because it'll make it easier for you to see, with a Sharpie or a marker, fold these over outward and sort of mark them, right? Because it makes it easier for you to see from the back where your angles are. They just have to be visible. And as you can see here, I did it on this one. So I'm gonna do this on the inner ones as well, in all my fold points. And just for good sake, I'm just gonna show our middle here. These fold inward, so it won't matter as much. Now, like I mentioned, we want to glue this together right here. Let's check our hot glue gun. Okay, that's nice and hot. I'm just gonna go ahead and glue this. That actually came out. That actually freezes. So now this side, you can see how this is all wonky, because basically we want to bring this way. As you can see, as we bring it this way, this separates. So we want to bring this over here. You can use a piece of tape on the other side. It's a little easier without the paper. So let's see if this will hold it. Just to give us a reference point there. The can actually gets very cold. Okay, now that we have that like this, we need to bring our nose bridge basically together like this. Once we have it together like this, and make sure you try to line up the center here with the center here as best as possible. And we're gonna hot glue that. I'm just gonna let that cool naturally for a few seconds. You should start to see our project take shape. As that's cooling, I'm just gonna take some of these and just do our folds. Here, what I'm doing is I'm flattening this front part right here, but it actually bulged out too much. Now that we have this like this, and this is, I can feel it, it's not hot anymore. I'm gonna do this bottom portion down here. For that, we're gonna be using this. So on here, we have to do the same thing. We have to do our folds or our crushing. But since this is a small piece, I'm really not going to remove it. Just gonna show you like this. You have to do one edge like this. Let me just make sure this is clear. I'm only gonna do, wanna see our lines from here to here. So this is the only section that I wanna glue. I don't wanna glue this over here, this edge. I don't wanna do that yet. And we want to let that to cool down a lot. We don't want it to move. Then once that cools, we're going to fold this and bring this one back this way. Hopefully you can see that. I'll try to bring it closer for you. I think at this point, I'm just gonna take this off. It'll be easier without it for me. And I'm gonna take this off from down here. I'll probably use a little piece of tape to hold this together so I don't burn myself with the hot glue. Basically what I want something like that, where they're touching each other. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. Again, don't worry about these edges because we're gonna fix all this. And you want to try to make sure that these line up very closely to each other. Looking a little nicer. Here, I messed it up a little bit. I can always cut that, and that's fine. Because like I said, I'm gonna be using hot glue on all these edges. So we can crush them in and then put some hot glue on them. So as you can see, it's starting to take shape. Next, we're gonna be using these guys. Here, take off this first. So just wanna make sure you see this. This tip goes against right here, and this edge goes against right here. So we wanna line these up like this. Here, you see how this is cut in an angle? You want this in that angle. So again, right here, right here, right here. So I'm just gonna hold it right there, and I'm gonna glue it from this side first. Don't glue this part just yet. So now that I have that, I'm gonna slowly start guiding this into my shape. Now be careful here. This side right here is very thin, so it's likely to get crushed. So you wanna be very careful as you're doing this. Now, if you need to fold this out, which you will like this, it's okay if this part here curves out, because technically this part should be curving out like this. That is the purpose of that. I'm gonna slowly start gluing this from the inside here while holding it in place. And like I said before, if it's easier for you, you can always put pieces of tape like this. You want it to follow the contour of this template. But you also want it to be flush right here. So I'm just gonna glue it on the inside. Just be careful with the hot glue. It gets on your finger, it is going to burn, it is going to hurt a lot. Ask me how I know. Okay, if you look at that like that, you'll see that it's taking its shape. Now we're not ready yet here, because really these should be folding in like this, and we'll get to that. We're just getting our shape here first. And you can keep that tape on while it's still getting solid. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead now, and I'm gonna do the other side. Again, same process. Line it up here. This should be touching right here. This should be lined up right there. Don't glue this center here yet. We're just doing the exact same thing we did before. Now, you see how this tip is going over like this? You don't want that, because when you try to put your glue, it's not gonna work. You want a nice spacing like that for your hot glue. Now, remember this little V that I mentioned right here in the center? What you're gonna wanna do is, you're gonna join that together and glue it together. That's gonna give us our alignment for this. And you're gonna wanna glue it on both sides. This bottom, depending on how you did it, it might get a little distorted. One option that you do have, which is not what I did here, you could put this at the end. You can see here that we joined this here. It's basically giving us almost the shape that we're looking for. You can see how this is getting folded. You can hit this up with the tip of your hot glue gun. And that'll allow it to move a little bit, to readjust it. I'm holding it down as I'm doing that to get it to come a little flatter. And see there now that I did that? It's flatter. And that's fine. Again, we're gonna have our nose right here, and we're gonna have hot glue. So that's fine, but you do want it to be as flat as possible. Now in here, we're ready to put our back supports here, which are all these little guys. Obviously, you should be able to see the shape of what belongs where. These obviously belong right here, and these with the points obviously go here. And you want it basically centered as best as possible. Now what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna adjust this a little bit here. Something strange happened with these. I'm gonna have to check the template for these. These, I'm gonna make sure that they line up for these sizes. I'm not sure why they're so big. I might have used the wrong version on this printout. Make sure you have them lined up the right way. Again, you want to try to center these as much as possible. And you're probably going to need to let them dry for about half an hour. Gonna let that glue dry for about 20-30 minutes, and we'll come back to continue. The glue on these should be dry by now. So now we're on to the next step, which is we're going to add some glue on these areas here to get us these angles, which is what we're trying to accomplish here. So what we'll be doing is, like I mentioned, is gluing these. So we're gonna start with these inner ones to get our angle there first. And this, as you glue this, what it'll also do is it'll help the eye actually still bulge out more. And it gives us this differentiation between this and this here. So we'll get started with doing that. We just want a slight angle. You want a slight angle, not a huge angle. Now you want to almost add it like stitching. Let's just check this angle. You can see here is an angle, and it'll become more prominent once we paint it. That's solid enough for now. It'll keep on hardening. While that one hardens, I'm gonna do this other side here. I'm just gonna do my angle. Trying to find the right positioning to show you and glue it at the same time. Be careful when you have the hot glue close to your hands, because it burns. You can see there, we have those nice angles there. And I'm just gonna give that a few minutes to fully harden. Next, we're gonna do this one. On this side, I'm pretty happy with this angle here. I'm just gonna glue this one as is. Just cool down on its own since it's already in the position that I like. This side, you may not be able to see it here. You can see this side actually comes up a little more. So I'm actually gonna close this one slightly. And again, you may not be able to see it. So I'm just gonna, here, I'm just gonna close it up a little bit. That's pretty good. We got our shape. On this one, I actually added glue here to push this more out. So basically what I did was, here, I pushed it more open like this. So this here, they should have a slight curvature like this. So basically it's a little easier to see where you're at with this on. So what I'm gonna do here is, I'm gonna cut this right here. As you can see there, we have this here. I'm just gonna put my thumb here and squeeze in. Basically, I'm trying to crush it in right there. Trying to crush this in. And hopefully there, you can see a curvature is starting to appear here. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. I'm gonna put my thumb here and squeeze in. Basically, I'm crushing it inward to create an indentation in here. So if you can see there, you can see it's starting to come up. And then what happens is, if I put glue here while holding this out, like this, let's see if I can show you, it pushes the top out a little bit. But on this one, it's actually coming out pretty nice. So I don't know if that's really necessary. I might just be able to do it by actually just bending the cardboard. That looks like a nice indentation there. You should be able to see there how it comes from out here, inward and up. And the same thing on this side. I'm just gonna take this off to show you. Hopefully you can see that there. Basically, that's what we want. And then in here, I actually put some hot glue, kind of flattening it out to give it some definition. and that helps it hold its shape a little bit on these sides. So basically what I did was I follow these shapes slightly. You can actually cut these out, put it on here, and kind of you have your lines to do your glue. So let me do that very quickly. I'm gonna cut these out and then I'll be right back. So I went ahead and cut these out, and basically we just gotta tape them on here as they go, right? And then just draw a line. I'm just gonna do this one first. Basically just gonna tape it right here, and just gotta make sure it lines up good enough. That side's done. See if I could reuse this tape on the other side. Again, we just really want to guide. Next, we're going to use this guy. And this gives us a perfect spot right here. Now you don't necessarily have to do this. If you want to have a different look for yours, this is just how I'm choosing to do mine, and this is the guidance that I'm providing for this project. Now all we gotta do is just take our hot glue gun, and we're just gonna add basically a flat bead to give us a little texture look here. Doesn't have to be huge. I mean, you can make it as big as you want. We just want an even width or even enough width bead. And basically have it almost right against it to help give me my flat bead. And while I'm at it, I am gonna seal this edge here. I can do this at this stage, not earlier. Just sealing up that edge. Since I ran out of glue, it's giving me a little bit of a hard time until it actually fills back up right there. Going ahead, we got our bead right there, basically. Now this one obviously is white, so you can see it a little more. What I am going to do is, I am gonna, like I mentioned earlier, hold this wide and put a little glue there. And I'm holding it there while it cools off or hardens, because I want it to stay wide. That was very cold. Don't do that. It actually froze my finger to this. Hopefully there now you can see. I don't know if you can really see it, but it's actually a little out. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. I actually feel this can's getting much lighter. The air is running out. Hopefully you can now see that this is more out. Now we're gonna do our nose. But before we do our nose, I have some tips for you. My advice to you would be to paint these things on the inside black. Actually, before we get to that, these lines, we're gonna crush it like we did the other one. But we're not gonna move this to the other side since it's only 2 pieces. And this one's only in the center. Go ahead, fold this over so we can see our size here. And you can see it basically lines up with this point and this point almost. And basically this is gonna go like this, right here. And I know this looks weird here, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna glue it on the sides. Once we glue on the sides, we're gonna fold this in. We're gonna fold it in and glue it. So we wanna paint that black. This one, as you can see, it sort of follows the contour of the nose. So before we put it in, we're gonna glue here in the center a little bit. So that's in place. So this here, we're gonna color all of this black. It is a lot easier to do it before you put it in here, because if you're trying to paint in there, it's a real pain. You may not be able to see it on camera, but I missed near the top there, trying to paint it from the outside. So that was a lesson learned. So I got my supplies ready. I got a cup with some water, some type of brush, and I'm using black Craftsmart acrylic paint. You can use whatever you have handy. And if you don't have a brush, that's gonna make painting this a little harder. But I mean, I guess you could use Q-tips or something like that, but I suggest get some type of brush. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I'm just gonna go ahead, and I'm using this piece of cardboard that I got earlier. I'm just gonna use this other piece to get a little bit of paint on there. Don't worry about this outer part. Just worry about the inside right now. The outer part you could paint from the outside very easily. And this is the purpose of our water, to clean off our brush. Now before, if you're using the same brush, before you start doing the white, make sure that you wash it very well. That's actually a white mix, and I'm gonna go over how to get that color. I mean, you could paint yours whatever color you want, but I want this color. So just gonna go ahead, let those dry. Okay, they should be fairly dry by now. Now we want to fold this like this. We want to line up about the center of this to that tip right there, like this. I'm just gonna put a bead of hot glue right there. Now, we basically have to shape our nose. Now, if this looks kind of wonky like this, just make sure you fix that first. You want it to look more or less even like this. Now, here comes our distancing. The inside of these 2 points here should be about 1 inch in width and 1/2 inch to each side from the center. So what I'll do is, once I have it in position, put a little hot glue here and a little hot glue here and hold it in place. And you can always check it as it's drying. But while that's drying, I'm gonna go ahead and put some on the top side here, on each side that I hadn't put any. Hopefully this is starting to make sense to you a little bit. I know this has this shape here, and we'll get to that once this hardens enough. Now, while this is still open, we're going to glue this piece in at the top here, in the center. And I'm just gonna add a little glue. Then right here, very carefully, on the inside, I'm just gonna add a little dot and a little dot on each side. Really just to hold it in place. Just try to keep it aligned as centered as possible there. Hard there, help it out a little bit. Now, what we're gonna do is, we wanna shove this inward like this. But you'll see that as I shove this like this, everything wants to go. So you wanna put something here and curve this like this. You can see there as I'm putting my finger, it's keeping that curve. Basically, that's what we're looking for. And we can always shape this a little more if we wanna get more curvature. Don't be afraid of shaping it. But basically, we want something like this. Just gonna hold it right here, and I'm gonna put glue right down here to hold it in place. Now we want to do the same thing on the other side. We want to put something here and then bend this inward. We want that curvature. Again, this is a depth mask, so it doesn't have to be 100% perfect, just close enough. Be very careful here. Now I'm gonna put some down here near the bottom, near the tip of the nose, the bottom of the nose. Kind of build that up a little bit. And in here, on the inside, while I'm at it. Because basically we wanna cover the holes of the cardboard. Hopefully you can see that there. Kind of cover it up and create a sort of smooth area. Doesn't have to be perfect. Once it's solid enough that it doesn't move, you just want to finish it. Finish around here, finish around this side. And basically, we got our nose. Again, this one looks slightly different, but that's fine. No mask is going to look exact. This is obviously hardened by now, so I'm just going to take off my tape. So basically, the general gluing of our mask is done. Now what we want to do is do a little sealing. What I mean by that is, all these edges where the cardboard is exposed, we want to add a little bit of hot glue, which is, as you can see here, I've added a little bit of hot glue to seal our edges all around. So I'm gonna go ahead, do that all around, even down here, 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 and we actually haven't glued these parts on yet, have we? So we wanna glue these on the inside here. Now I only did this one first because I want to make sure that they're lined up before I glue the second one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead, seal everything, and then I'll come back. So I've gone ahead and sealed all the edges with some hot glue. Basically, I went all around and sealed everything. You can see it there, here, even on this area here. So basically that serves two purposes. One is to prevent paper cuts, basically, if you're handling this. And another one is that it'll make it much nicer to paint. If you notice on this one on the edge, I painted here. I haven't painted the inside of this. You can paint the inside of this black if you like. I think I'll do that later on. So the next stage for this is gonna be painting it. And we're gonna be using several colors. We'll be using white, brown, yellow, and we'll be using the black again. Now, this one, I actually covered it with some Mod Podge, and this is a hard coat, which is basically a glue and sealer and finish. The reason for that is that I wanted to see if we would get a difference in the color and the texture of the plain cardboard versus one covered with the Mod Podge and sealed. I'm gonna just guess that this might absorb more paint, but I don't know that. So we'll see if we get a difference between the two methods. One covering it in Mod Podge before painting it, this one just painting it bare. I wanted this yellowish beige white sort of tone versus a plain white. Obviously you can paint yours whatever color you like, and I'll go over how I get this finish. I'm using some extra sheets of white paper to sort of protect the surface. You're gonna need some sort of vessel to do your mixing in. I'm using this little resealable paint mix cup. You can use whatever you like. You're gonna need quite a bit of it to cover the whole surface. So I'm not gonna show you quantities. I'm gonna show you method and the colors and the way that I got it. Okay, so we're gonna start with our white. So basically you want to get a significant amount of white. So this is gonna be your basic primary color. Hopefully you can see there how much I have. Again, you might have to mix this more than once depending on your vessel. So I'm showing you the technique. I'm gonna be using some toothpicks for my mixing. So you want to first get your yellow tone. So usually I'll do this in stages. So I'll put a few drops of yellow and mix. So there, you can see my yellow. I'm just gonna mix this. I'm gonna use 2 toothpicks because it gives me more mixing surface. And this does turn a little darker as it dries. So it looks a bit of a cream, but if you compare it to this, it's very close but not exact. I'm gonna add just a very small amount of brown. Very small amount. You can see there, this is a very small amount of brown. Then I'm gonna mix. And there, you can see it's a sort of like a cream yellow. Now what you want to do is find a surface of similar color what you're using. So we're doing it on cardboard. So I'm using the same cardboard. And I'm just gonna put a little bit on there and just compare it. It does turn a little darker as it dries, but you want to use it as a base comparison. Hopefully you can see there, it's very close. As I mentioned, it does get darker as it dries. But I don't know if it's picking it up on the camera, but that's very close to what I want. So I'm personally happy with that color. I'm gonna go ahead and start painting. You can wear some sort of gloves, the other ones from before. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and start painting. Obviously, I'm gonna fast forward through this portion. Don't worry about painting in here like I did here, because we're gonna address that on the final detail touches. And what I'll do is I'll put one coat, let it dry, and put another. So I'll put 2 coats whenever I'm painting. Obviously, if you have airbrush, you can use airbrush to do this. So I'm gonna go ahead, finish painting this, and we'll continue. Okay, so you can see I have my first coat on, and I'm gonna use one of these, I guess these are hand containers that you buy at the supermarket. They happen to fit very well for this size of mask to hold it up like this. And I'm just gonna let it dry for about 30 minutes and then put a second coat on. Now, just as a note, put around your edges like this, and you can use this inner part here to help hold it in place and move it around. I'm just gonna let this dry and then put my second coat on. You can see the color is not that far off, especially since it's not dry yet and we haven't done the secondary process. Okay, so I've gone ahead and done the second coat. You might be able to see that you can still see possibly a little bit of the underneath. At least wherever I painted it black with the Sharpie, you might be able to see a little bit, but that's not really that important. Next, we're gonna do the detail step, which is to make it look like this. And we're gonna do that with dry brushing. And in case you have never done dry brushing, I'm gonna go over it. But before we do that, we're gonna paint a few details black. So if you can see here, on the eye socket here, I painted the outer edge black, and the inside of the nose is also painted black, as far down as I can get it. On this one, you might be able to see that you can still see a little cardboard in there. So what we're gonna do is, we're basically going to take a Q-tip and we're gonna go in there with the Q-tip and color the inside black as much as we can. I'm gonna use a little water bottle cap as my container to hold my black paint. So let me get some Q-tips. We're gonna use the same black that we used at the beginning. I'm gonna pour a little bit on my cap. I'm gonna go ahead, pour my Q-tip, and I'm gonna go in here and paint as much as I can in there. And don't worry if you get some on the outside. Basically, I'm just trying to cover what I can in there, and that's fine. Now I'm gonna use my brush, and I'm just gonna go lightly on here. Doesn't have to be perfect. You basically just want to cover the rim lightly. If it goes over like this, don't worry too much about it. Just take your time, do it patiently. You can see that's already changing the character of the piece. Let's get it on here for a second. You can see the difference. But the dark rim actually makes the eye socket pop a little more. And don't worry, like I said, about parts that do that. It actually helps give it a little character. I mean, this is a death mask, so having some weirdness like that actually helps. We don't want perfection, obviously. Now, the way that dry brushing works is like this. Basically, and I'm going to use the white as a reference point. You want to do your brush until you start seeing it dry like this, and you basically go like that. You don't want it too wet, you want it dry. And that's dry brushing. You don't have to use a lot of pressure. And if you go too heavy-handed, right, what you can do is you can take some of your beige and just go over it. Again, just same way, dry brushing it. I mean, the purpose of this is basically to make it look slightly worn. I mean, you could leave yours looking nice and clean if you like. Again, it's yours. Don't forget your nose. You don't want it to look too new. Again, this is a skull basically. So hopefully you can see there the difference. Let's get a little bit. I don't like how this side is a little darker. Don't need a lot, just a little bit. You can see what I meant, that these imperfections around the eye sockets actually help accent it. And that's it. That's the mask 100% finished. I mean, if you want to do additional things, I know the actual Darksiders 2 mask has a lot of details like veins and such. If you want to take your time, take some black paint and a thinner brush, you know, and build onto it, you can. Make it your own. And that's it. As you can see, we just basically completed one. 100% out of cardboard. So let's go over the supplies that we used. We used the printout templates, some cardboard, a hot glue gun, Elmer's glue, Sharpie, knife, scissor, and acrylic paints. And not to be forgotten, a little tape. So as you can see, we didn't use a lot of supplies for this project. So I feel the way that I try to construct this is for most people to be able to do it at home without needing a lot of complicated supplies. So if you have any questions or comments, please put them below and I'll do my best to answer them. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. If you want to paint the back black, feel free to do so. I didn't do it for these because I wanted you to be able to see what was happening here. But once you're done assembly, you can paint it black or whatever color you like.